Are you prepared for a blackout? When the power goes out, most of us are left scrambling, unsure of how to adapt to life without modern conveniences. Yet there's a community that has mastered self-reliance and thrives without electricity every single day: the Amish. These remarkable people have perfected a way of living that ensures their survival and comfort, even in the most challenging circumstances. These timeless strategies, born out of centuries of tradition, will teach you how to stay resourceful, prepared, and resilient when facing a power outage or other emergencies. From food preservation techniques that don't require refrigeration to ingenious ways of lighting and heating your home without electricity, these survival tips are practical, effective, and easy to implement in your own life. Whether you're looking to reduce reliance on modern systems, prepare for unforeseen disasters, or simply learn valuable skills, these Amish survival secrets might just be your guiding light in the dark. Stick around and become empowered to take control of your own survival, no matter what the circumstances. Let's get started. 1. Preserve food like your life depends on it. The Amish have mastered the art of survival by relying on two essential food preservation methods: canning and fermentation. They don't depend on refrigerators or freezers to keep their food edible in the long term. Instead, they employ these old-school, time-tested techniques to ensure their families can eat even when electricity is a distant memory. Canning is a non-negotiable skill for survival. Think about it. During a blackout, those stocked fridges and freezers you rely on won't last long. Canning solves this problem by locking in food freshness without refrigeration. Whether it's homemade tomato sauce, vegetable stews, or jars of sweet peaches, properly canned food can last for months, sometimes even years. Canning doesn't require fancy equipment either. All you need are canning jars, lids, and a reliable pressure canner or water bath. If you get these supplies and start canning regularly, you're not just stocking food, you're creating an emergency lifeline for when your modern conveniences fail. Are you prepared to live without a stocked pantry of shelf-stable meals? The Amish are, and so can you. Fermentation, on the other hand, doesn't just preserve food, it enhances it. When the lights go out and fresh food becomes scarce, fermented options like sauerkraut, yogurt, and pickles will keep your diet nutrient-packed. The natural probiotics in fermented foods aren't just good for your gut. They boost your immune system and improve digestion, too. The process is ridiculously simple. Add a little salt and water, toss your produce in the brine, and leave it to work its magic. Within a few days, you'll have tangy, flavorful results that last for months. There's no dependence on electricity, expensive chemicals, or hard-to-find supplies. The Amish have been using these techniques for generations, and their resilience proves this stuff works. If you're not already preserving food like the Amish, now is the time to start. Stock up on jars, salt, and storage containers, and learn the ropes of these methods. When a blackout hits, the comfort of knowing you won't go hungry is worth every ounce of effort. These skills could be the difference between thriving and starving in a crisis. Don't wait to prepare. Get started now. 2. Master the art of non-electrical lighting. When the power goes out, you can't rely on flipping a switch to light up your home. You need to ditch your dependence on electricity and turn to time-tested methods like the Amish do. They've perfected non-electrical lighting for centuries, and their techniques can save you in any blackout. Here's what you need to know. Oil lamps. These are the backbone of Amish lighting. Oil lamps offer steady, dependable illumination that can light up entire rooms. All you need to do is keep a good stock of long-lasting lamp oil and wicks. Both items are cheap, easy to find, and store for years without losing effectiveness. An oil lamp is simple to operate, and unlike batteries, it won't suddenly die on you, provided you're prepared. Just fill it with oil, light it up, and you're good to go. Candles. If you don't already own candles, what are you waiting for? These are the easiest backup light source you can get. Unlike anything electronic, candles have an almost unlimited shelf life. Tuck them away in a cool, dry place, and they'll be ready when disaster strikes. The Amish know the value of simplicity, and candles are as simple as it gets. You light a match, and you've got light. They're cheap, versatile, and don't rely on any fancy components to work. Make sure you stock a variety of sizes for different purposes. A large pillar candle can burn for hours, while tea lights are great for short tasks. Solar lanterns. For those looking for a touch of modern practicality, don't overlook solar lanterns. The Amish often use solar technology selectively, recognizing its consistency in situations where sunlight can recharge their devices. A solar lantern can be left outside during the day to charge, then used for light at night. Many high-quality models also double as power banks, allowing you to charge small electronics when necessary. Choose lightweight, durable options for flexibility, and make sure to get models with efficient lighting modes to extend battery life. Be pillar strong. One light source isn't enough. The Amish know better than to rely on one method, so you shouldn't either. Use a combination of oil lamps, candles, and solar lanterns to create a fail-safe system. Each complements the other, ensuring that you'll always have some form of light to see you through the darkest times. When the grid fails, your layered approach will keep you moving, living, and surviving without skipping a beat. 3. Mastering hand tools for survival. When the lights go out for good, dependence on power tools will leave you stranded. The Amish have long embraced the use of reliable, time-tested hand tools, understanding that when technology fails, the basics won't. Hand tools don't rely on electricity, batteries, or gas. They are immune to the vulnerabilities of modern technology, surviving power outages, dead batteries, or mechanical failures. If you aim to be truly prepared for a blackout, hand tools are non-negotiable. Stock up on the essentials. This means saws, hammers, hand drills, planes, and chisels. These tools ensure you can build, repair, and create without needing access to power. Whether you're boarding up broken windows, fashioning new furniture, or constructing a shelter, these pieces of equipment are your lifeline. Quality matters, so invest in durable, well-made tools that can withstand constant use. Learning to effectively use and maintain hand tools is just as important. It's not enough to own them. You need to be proficient with them. Take the time now, not when disaster strikes, to learn basic carpentry, repair techniques, and other skills. These are the kind of survival skills that build independence. The confidence of knowing you can solve problems without relying on external resources is invaluable during a prolonged emergency. Hand tools also need proper care. Regular sharpening, cleaning, and oiling are non-negotiable if you want your tools to last. Neglecting maintenance means your tools might fail just when you need them most. Make it a habit to check them regularly and make necessary repairs or replacements ahead of time. A rusted saw or dull chisel won't do you any good in an emergency. The key takeaway is simple but blunt. Hand tools are not an accessory. They're a necessity. The modern reliance on electric tools will leave you vulnerable when the grid goes down. Follow the Amish example and make hand tools a core part of your preparedness strategy. By mastering these tools, you gain control, capability, and the confidence to thrive when others struggle to survive. 4. Cooking without electricity. When the power goes out, cooking becomes a challenge for most people. The Amish, however, thrive in these situations because they already know how to cook without relying on modern conveniences. 2 of their most trusted methods are wood stoves and solar ovens, and you'd better master both. Wood stoves are a game changer. They allow you to cook, boil water, and even keep your home warm during extreme weather, all with a supply of firewood. If you don't already have a wood stove, consider getting one now. They're durable, efficient, and time-tested. But remember, they're only as good as the amount of wood you have stacked. Maintaining a proper stockpile of firewood is critical. Without it, your stove becomes a useless hunk of metal. Learn how to chop wood, dry it, and store it properly. On the flip side, there's the solar oven, a simple yet highly effective alternative. Using nothing but sunlight, these ovens can cook, bake, and even dehydrate food. That makes them ideal for sunny conditions. While they're not as fast as a conventional oven, they get the job done without consuming a single watt of electricity or ounce of fuel. Set it up, leave it alone, and your food cooks itself. But fair warning, it's not going to help you much at night or in cloudy weather. The key to cooking without electricity is a combination of tools and strategies. Wood stoves can cover you at night, during winter, or whenever sunlight is scarce. Meanwhile, solar ovens are a perfect choice during the day, especially if you live in a sunny region. Learn how to use both now, because waiting until a blackout hits is a recipe for disaster. Mastering these methods before you're in a pinch ensures that you're prepared to cook, stay warm, and keep your family fed no matter what's happening with the power grid. If you want to be ready for a blackout, take a page from the Amish playbook. Forget electric appliances, get yourself a wood stove and a solar oven and start practicing. Survival isn't complicated, but it demands preparation. If you're not ready, you'll be left in the cold, quite literally. 5. Harvest and store rainwater. When there's no power, your water supply might dry up quicker than you'd expect. Don't wait until it's too late. Harvesting and storing rainwater is critical for survival during a blackout. The Amish have done it for generations, and so can you, but you'll need to get serious about doing it right. Start by setting up gutters and downspouts around your home to funnel rainwater into collection systems like barrels or cisterns. Aim for food-grade containers to keep the water safe for drinking and cooking. They're cheap, readily available, and keep you one step ahead when taps run dry. For larger storage needs, consider underground cisterns that can hold thousands of gallons. Just remember, the rain can't help you if you don't plan to catch it. But simply collecting rainwater isn't enough. The quality matters. Don't drink it straight. It's loaded with debris, bird droppings, and who knows what else. You'll need to filter and purify it, and there are no shortcuts here. Mesh screens and ceramic filters are your first line of defense, keeping out larger contaminants. To go further, rely on activated carbon to remove chemicals or UV purifiers to zap harmful microorganisms. If tech isn't an option, go low-tech. Use sand, charcoal, and gravity-fed systems for natural filtration. Storing the filtered water properly is crucial. Keep your containers in cool, dark places to avoid algae growth or contamination. Rotate your stored water regularly so it doesn't go stale. Don't be lazy about this. Fresh water means survival. The Amish have mastered rainwater collection not because it's trendy, but because it's essential. If the power's out for days, or even weeks, you'll quickly realize that survival hinges on the basics. Having a reliable rainwater system in place isn't just smart, it's non-negotiable. Skip this step, and you're setting yourself and your family up for failure. Rainwater is free and abundant, but only if you're prepared. If you haven't started building your rainwater system yet, the time to act is now. 6. Stockpile food like your life depends on it. When a blackout hits, your food supply will dictate your survival. The Amish understand the importance of having a well-stocked pantry filled with essentials that can outlast any crisis. They know that relying on fragile supply chains is a recipe for disaster. If you want to endure a blackout without panicking, you need to take food storage seriously and act now. Start by stockpiling staple items like grains, rice, beans, lentils, and oats. These foods are cheap, non-perishable, and packed with nutrients to sustain you when fresh groceries are no longer an option. Forget the useless junk food that only takes up space. Focus on items that will fill you up and fuel your body. Use airtight containers, vacuum-sealed bags, and food-grade buckets with oxygen absorbers to keep everything fresh and pest-free for the long haul. Location matters. Store your food in a cool, dark, and dry place to prevent it from spoiling or being invaded by critters. Basements, root cellars, or even a closet away from heat sources are ideal spots. The Amish store their crops underground in root cellars and use time-tested methods to make their supplies last for months, even years. Technology isn't required. Just plain old common sense and preparation. Variety in your pantry is critical. Don't depend on a single food item, or you'll be setting yourself up for nutritional burnout. Incorporate canned goods that don't need refrigeration and fermented foods that stay fresh for extended periods. Jams, pickled vegetables, dried fruits, and even jerky can round out your food supply while adding flavor to your meals. The Amish put in the work to preserve all kinds of food for winter and emergency situations, and you should follow suit. The key is to build a food reserve that doesn't leave you scrambling when the lights go out. You must prepare now while supplies are still readily available. Blackouts don't come with a warning, and grocery store shelves will be emptied within hours when panic sets in. The Amish thrive during these crises because they plan for the worst regardless of whether it happens. Take notes and start building your long-term food storage now. Your future self will thank you. 7. Rely on natural remedies. When it comes to survival during a blackout, the Amish know that self-reliance often means turning to natural remedies. Modern medicine is full of conveniences, but when access to pharmacies and hospitals is cut off, knowing how to treat an illness or injury with what's available becomes a critical skill. The Amish rely heavily on knowledge passed down through generations about plants, herbs, and other natural resources. They grow medicinal plants like echinacea, peppermint, and calendula in their own gardens. These herbs serve multiple purposes, from soothing burns and scrapes to easing colds and inflammation. By learning how to use natural remedies, you can avoid unnecessary risks, remain healthy, and preserve what limited resources you may have in an emergency. Stock a supply of dried herbs, essential oils, and tinctures, and know how to prepare salves, teas, or poultices. Understanding which plants grow naturally in your area is also crucial. Wild foraging for common curatives like elderberry, dandelions, or plantain can supplement your natural medicine kit. Remedies rooted in plants won't replace professional medical care. But in a crisis, they might just save your life, especially when healthcare infrastructure is inaccessible. Most importantly, you can sustain yourself with these remedies over the long term, without depending on outside resources. This is not the time for guesswork, though. Learn before disaster strikes. Familiarize yourself with which herbs are safe, effective, and how to prepare them properly. Keep a medicinal herb book for reference because Google won't be there to help during a prolonged blackout. Preparedness isn't about hoping you can think on the fly. It's about mastering essential knowledge well in advance. Lastly, ensure you know basic first aid techniques, which will pair perfectly with your natural remedies. 8. Durable clothing and sewing skills. When the power goes out and supply chains falter, one thing becomes evident quickly. You won't be able to just replace what you use up, wear out, or break. That's why the Amish focus so much on long-lasting clothing and the ability to repair it. Your wardrobe isn't just about what looks good. It needs to be about what works, what lasts, and what you can fix. Durable, high-quality materials are key. The Amish wear clothing made from fabrics like wool, linen, denim, and canvas, which can endure years of wear and tear. Don't waste your time or money on cheap, fast fashion. Invest in sturdy, practical clothing now, before shortages or skyrocketing prices hit. Clothes that are tough, functional, and suited to your environment are an absolute must for survival situations. It's not just about looking prepared, it's about being prepared. But even the best-made garments will fall apart eventually without proper care and occasional fixes. That's where sewing skills come into play. If you don't know how to patch a torn sleeve, mend a ripped seam, or sew on a button, you're asking for trouble. When stores are closed or supply chain issues make it impossible to get replacements, being able to repair your own clothing is a skill that can't be overstated. The Amish know this, which is why sewing skills are taught from a young age, ingrained into their everyday lives. Start building a basic sewing kit now. Include needles, heavy-duty thread, fabric patches, scissors, and thimbles. If possible, find an old-fashioned manual sewing machine, no electricity required, to take on bigger jobs like resizing clothes or reinforcing large tears. Learn how to modify clothing to fit your specific needs. For example, turning basic pants into work-ready gear by adding reinforced knee patches or adjusting lengths to minimize wear at the hems. Proper maintenance of your clothing also plays a big part in extending its lifespan. Take preventative steps like hand-washing delicate fabrics, drying clothes properly to prevent mold, and storing them in dry, pest-free areas. These small actions will ensure your clothes last longer, minimizing the need for repairs and replacements. Lastly, don't overlook the importance of footwear in survival situations. A sturdy pair of boots can mean the difference between functioning and faltering. And like clothing, these will need care and repair over time, whether that involves resoling or patching holes. The Amish understand that even small tools like awls and leather repair kits can go a long way to making footwear last during hard times. By adopting these habits now, you'll save money, resources, and stress later. Learning to make do with what you already have and gaining independence from the supply chain is the ultimate survival advantage. These lessons, passed down through generations, make the Amish one of the most resilient communities in America. It's not just knowledge, it's a way of life. And it's one you should follow too, especially when facing the uncertainty of a blackout. 9. Community is survival. When the power goes out, your neighbors aren't just neighbors anymore, they're your lifeline. Forget bunkering down alone with a stash of canned goods and hoping for the best, because that's not how long-term survival works. The Amish have thrived for generations by understanding this simple truth. Survival is a team sport. They don't just rely on themselves, they rely on each other. And it's their tight-knit sense of community that keeps them going when the chips are down. If you think you can go it alone, you're in for a rude awakening. Building community starts long before disaster strikes. Waiting for a crisis to make friends is not just foolish, it's dangerous. Start now! Learn who your reliable neighbors are and foster relationships built on trust and mutual aid. Build a network of people with diverse skills. Someone who can fix machinery, someone who has medical knowledge, someone who knows agriculture. If all you can do is make small talk, then you better bring something valuable to the table, because in a blackout, being resourceful is the same as being indispensable. Here's the thing. No amount of stockpiled food will make up for the collective strength of a united community. The Amish understand this. They borrow, trade, and share because they realize that hoarding isn't survival, cooperation is. If your neighbor needs a hammer and you lend it, you're building goodwill. When you need help with something down the line, that favor will come back to you. This isn't charity, it's self-interest with a community twist. Don't just survive with your neighbors, thrive with them. Learn from their skills, share your knowledge, and prepare together. A lone wolf won't last long, but a pack will always endure. 10. Master the basics, because gadgets won't save you. Fancy gadgets and high-tech gear are useless when you don't know how to survive without them. The Amish keep it simple, and they survive just fine. You don't need solar-powered water purifiers, complicated fire-starting kits, or any other gizmos if you can master the skills that actually matter. The moment you realize that basic survival isn't about what you have, but what you know, is the moment you set yourself apart from those who will crumble during a blackout. Start with the essentials. Food preservation isn't a trend, it's a necessity. Learn how to produce, dehydrate food, and ferment vegetables. These techniques have been used for centuries and require nothing more than practice, patience, and consistency. The Amish don't run to the grocery store every week. They've already got shelves stocked with long-lasting, well-preserved food that can outlast any power outage. Follow their lead or you'll be left with spoiled food and no plan. Water is life, period. Without electricity, your modern plumbing and filtration systems are useless. The Amish thrive without these luxuries because they know how to collect and purify water. Take note. Rainwater collection systems, basic filtration techniques, and even digging for wells are skills you need to master. If you're depending on bottled water, you're living on borrowed time. Cooking is another area where people go wrong. Without power, there's no microwave, no oven, no electric stove. The Amish rely on wood-burning stoves, open flames, and simple cast-iron cookware to prepare meals. You don't need shiny gadgets or propane grills to eat. You need real knowledge of off-grid cooking techniques. When the world is dark, knowing how to make bread from scratch or cook a meal over a fire is worth 1,000 fancy tools. Yet another forgotten skill is herbal medicine. When pharmacies are closed, where will you turn? The Amish know the power of plants. They use herbs like garlic for infections, peppermint for digestion, and elderberry for colds. You don't have to become a full-blown herbalist, but you'd better know the basics of what grows in your environment and how to use it to stay healthy. Nature is your medicine cabinet. The biggest takeaway is that survival isn't complicated, it's basic. Learn the skills that matter and practice them now. A blackout isn't the time to learn how to bake bread or figure out how to purify water. This stuff should be second nature by then. The Amish aren't scared of modern society's fragility because they're not dependent on it. Break your dependency. Store knowledge, not gadgets. When the lights go out, you'll thank yourself for mastering skills instead of wasting your money on things you don't need.